Okay, today's the day. Breakup advice for guys. I think this also will apply to girls, but since I'm seeing it through the perspective of a guy, I can only experience through the perspective of a guy. That's what the breakup advice is going to be catered towards. Okay, think about it deeply. Think about why did she break up with you, and is it something you should improve? So I would analyze like what caused the breakup? Why did we break up? And what do I have to learn from this? What lessons? Why is my mind reiterating through these thoughts, this breakup? Like what is the most pressing thing that I have to improve upon myself? And you don't it's not super clear always because there are things that seem like you had to improve upon, but they actually weren't. It was a sign of a toxic relationship, we'll say, where she was expecting something else. She was expecting you to be, we'll say, unemotional when you were emotional. Like, I hear a lot of people, especially in the black pill community, where they'll say, I cried because my mom died and she left me because of that. I don't know if that's necessarily true, if that's really why she left you. I'm not going to speculate, but I give that as an example because that is not something healthy that you should obsess over and you should fix. You should improve because that's not healthy to not show emotion, to not cry if your mom dies. If you really feel the need to cry, then cry. Like you shouldn't be holding that in. And that should be very obvious, but it's not, unfortunately. So really analyze and determine. I mean, a lot of it can be stemmed from being complacent. You start to be in a relationship. I find that you start to be very complacent and you don't really strive towards any goals. Like you just kind of slink back into the relationship and just absorb it and just you love her and that's all. And then it's like, oh, I'll just play video games when I'm not with her. Oh, I just like there's not really much need to do anything else. But I love it when I hang out with her. Realize you shouldn't be with that person anyways. So once you've analyzed that, once you've fully analyzed it, you've fully gone through why you broke up and what you can do to improve. You shouldn't need to think about it anymore. You've done your part. So now the rest of this process is going to be trying not to completely think about it. And okay, so Jordan Peterson recommends you actually write down, but I think a vlog is also helpful. I mean, even if you don't publish it, just recording yourself and saying to a friend, speaking to a friend. And the other thing is, you don't want to do this too much because there's people that will constantly talk about their ex, say, "Oh, she left me because of this," and honest, like keep on thinking about that, reiterating that. Like even I don't know if I've ever met anyone who still reiterates that a year later, but we'll say 6 months later, 3 months later, 6 months later. 3 months later might be normal, but still you just don't want to, if you can help it, you don't want to talk about it. You just don't want to keep on teaching your mind to keep on thinking about it. You've analyzed it and you've done all you could. So now, as I was saying, realize you shouldn't be with that person anyways. So there was a reason you broke up and you just like it wouldn't work out now. And it wouldn't there's always a there's always a negative to somebody. Like nobody's perfect is what I'm trying to say. And so you have to think about there is a reason why I broke up with her or why she broke up with me even if that's the case. And yes, this is my wake up call to to do these things, but also say to yourself like it maybe this is even a cope, but you shouldn't be with that person because it wouldn't have worked out. It just couldn't have worked out. I acknowledge though that there's situations where you're completely like see there's things that I can't really relate with because I haven't been like I haven't been an awful human being and abused my wife and then she leaves me and then I fix that behavior because it was genuinely a toxic behavior, a harmful behavior to have, and then I want her back. So maybe you could long for her still and that relationship would work. So maybe you shouldn't realize that you shouldn't be with that person because you should be with that person as long as you don't have that abusive nature. But for the majority, I'd say people like you don't act like that. A lot of people seeking this advice won't be thinking, "Man, did I really abuse her? I can't remember if I did, but I probably these micro expressions that I expressed, they might have been some form of abuse." You're over analyzing at that point, and you should just relax and realize you shouldn't be with that person anyways. Remember why you broke up, all the bad sides to her, not the good. Yeah, so just remember, I mean, nobody's perfect. And there are there are things about her that caused the breakup too. And if she broke up with you, you can still there are still reasons why you shouldn't be with her. I A lot of people tend to have this idealization of their ex where she was perfect. But then just remember what it was like actually being with her. And you realize, actually, no, it wasn't perfect. I actually felt this lack of something. There was something off. And I accepted it at the time, but now it's time for me to really realize this lack of something or this negative trait that she had that was actually pulling me down. It's for the best, and so this breakup is for the best, and it will improve you. Just know that. So this is another tactic that I have, and when I go through a breakup, it's really hard to not think about the breakup. It's hard to not think about the pink elephant. So what I tend to do is if I catch myself thinking about the breakup, I'll think about my protein goal. So I work out and I constantly I don't really care about my protein goal in actuality. Like if I hit it, like I want to hit my protein goal, but I don't actively think about it. But now if I catch myself thinking about a breakup, I'll think back to my protein goal. Did I hit my protein goal today? Well, I had 20 grams of protein from the chicken, and then I had protein from this, and just basically count it up and think about that. And that is a healthy way of diverting your attention from something that would otherwise consume you. Like thinking about the breakup will consume you. And it's, as I said, this is why it's important to analyze it earlier on, because that way you've truly analyzed it. You've done the purpose of why the breakup is in your mind. But now you have to realize, like, Now that you've done that purpose, you have to get through it. You have to finish it. You have to like end this constant thinking about it, this rumination. And rumination isn't healthy. So yeah, as the remainder of this is going to be like working through that and just not ruminating. You should hang out with friends and have fun for a bit. Then after, you will be less distracted, so you can focus on your goals. So there's going to be a point where, like shortly after the breakup, you can't really do anything productive. Just accept that. Don't worry about being productive for the week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks or even a month. But no, your solace will be in that you will be productive after this, but you just have to focus on getting through this, focus on healing, and then you can work towards improving yourself. And this focus on healing can look like different things. I put hanging out with friends because that's what I consider the most fun. But if you're more introverted, if you're more, I don't know, socially anxious, then maybe it's not hanging out with friends. Maybe it's something different. Now, I also wouldn't say played video games, because that's a complete distraction. It's an unhealthy coping. You're fixing one rumination, one sort of addiction with another sort of addiction. So try to do something that isn't highly stimulating, but something that will take your mind off of just the breakup and alleviate your mood. So working out would also be a nice example. Learning a new skill. So not necessarily being super productive, but just learning a new skill. Like, I'm going to get really good at card tricks, or I'm going to pick up snowboarding now. Just random things. Just find a hobby. Find a couple of hobbies that you can pick up and start to work towards those. Just do them. And you're not going to be, you don't need to be in this time period. You don't need to be productive in school, in anything like that. But just take it at a slow pace. And then after you've healed, I would say this is the time to improve. Like, this is the motivation you have to improve. It's okay to still think about the relationship, but don't wonder what if, or think you should still be in the relationship. You can objectively look at your past relationships without sighing, we'll say, without being reminiscent of it, being heartbroken about it. But you shouldn't have emotion connected to it. You should be as objective as possible, and you shouldn't still think. And the way you still can tell if you have emotion in it, the biggest one is you think you should still be in the relationship. When you objectively look at it, you realize, I should not be in this relationship. And like, this is just a period in my life, and that's it. Like, you can honestly tell with yourself if you're being objective about it. And if you have to, getting over means you have no emotion towards it, not that you don't think about it. Yeah, it's okay if it pops into your mind too. There's things that you do with your ex that you don't normally do, and there will be situations where it arises. Like, I don't know, a song that reminds you of her. Like, maybe don't play the song. But there's also things like I don't know, photography, we'll say, and some guy says like, or one of your friends says, "Hey, do you want to do a photography shoot?" So some random thing like that. You don't um like you should. It's normal to think, "Oh, I did photography with my ex," and realize that connection or think about that connection, but not necessarily ruminate on it and think like, "Oh, what would it have been like to do photography with her right now with my friend?" Or I don't know, if she played piano, or just there's so many different examples, but I think you get the idea of what you should and shouldn't be doing. And you can really be honest with yourself too. I was going to say this for the last point. If you're asking, if you're hesitant about things, the answer is probably you shouldn't. I mean, if you're hesitant that, okay, and the reason I didn't say it, it was because I don't know if it necessarily applies to this specific example where, because I was thinking, is it really unhealthy to think about this situation that I had with her because this event reminded me of my ex? And no, it's not. Like it sometimes it's comforting hearing somebody else tell you like that is normal. It's normal to think these things. But I will say in general, yeah, the answer is no when you are hesitant about a question. Like your conscience will usually tell you. And if you try to justify it, that's where you see that's where you see usually it's probably the answer is very likely no. Like if I'm going to give the very clear example, stealing is bad and you think is stealing bad? Well, technically it's just everyone's property and like we'll say a book, stealing a book. Well, technically it was from a tree, so they took that tree and did they really get permission? And like technically is it really stealing? Like if I take this book? No, not really. But yes, it is. It is stealing. So okay, so I guess the answer wasn't no, it was yes. And that's but you know what I mean. Like you're trying to rationalize it so that you it is okay. So if you have any questions like that, try to answer it yourself with that conscious. And again, too, if you genuinely don't know, and you just can't figure it out, ask someone. Like ask your friends or even your family. But if you tend to be less, you don't like talking with relationships about your family, ask your friends and they'll be able to provide an objective response, hopefully. And you can ask multiple friends too. But again, this could lead into rumination, so try not to talk with your ex about anyone once you've gotten over that analyzation. Hope this helped. Good luck, man.